the kind you wear a tie, but not from 9 to 5. I tried that life but said goodbye. I'm not always polite, but I get the job done. Who says the world can never be fun? I'm simply unprofessional. Simply unprofessional.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Simply Unprofessional. I am your host tonight, Rob, and with me I have Anthony.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
So, it's just the two of us tonight. There were things going on, other people could not make it. So it's just me and Anthony. So I figured today we're going to talk about horror stories, specifically the kind of horror stories more like, God, I wish I never did that kind of thing, or God, I wish I never met this person. Specifically, we're going to do RPG horror stories from Reddit's RPG horror stories. I don't remember what they're called, a section, community, I guess. So yeah. So I'm gonna bring up some of these. We're gonna read them, and me and Anthony are gonna talk about it and see what we think. Sound good?
Sounds good. Yep. Hold up, when you
Alright.
say RPG horror stories, is it for RPG games or the
Yeah, but usually it's the real people in the game. Like it's okay, I joined this RPG game and this guy was like
I see.
had main character syndrome, or he was a
Gotcha.
dick, or yeah. Or the DM was a horrible person, blah blah blah, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Cool.
All right. So the first one we're going to start with here, the title is Player Makes His PC's Backstory Overly Dramatic and Expects a Free Magic Item from it. This is from user Voltem0. And it begins, this happened in a D&D 5e game I hosted a few years ago. I once had a player make a Hexblade Warlock that was a knight of an order so secret nobody knew they existed. Yet so cool that all the people that saw him would be willing to offer him free housing because he's just so cool. This order of knights was named the Seven Deadly Sins, and his character was the Sin of Wrath. This was, I think, a ripoff of the anime Seven Deadly Sins, while him being so cool and getting free lodging was seemingly because he was jealous of others that had taken the entertainer background. Before joining that super secret order, he was but a humble farmer from a village that then got wiped out in an interplanar war that had been going on for more than 2 years, which had apparently been wiping out villages left and right randomly. Mind you, the DM, wasn't asked about any of this. He just claimed this was this and expected me to make it canon. His village being wiped out left him with some magical MacGuffin magic weapon, but the magic weapon was infused with pure evil and whispered to all those near him that would attempt to make them evil. He stole that one from one of the Grey Knights from Warhammer 40,000. He expected this part of his backstory to be reason enough for me to give him a magic weapon, when I already told him in advance I wouldn't do that and didn't allow any such thing for any of the players. Also, in that village, he left his poor innocent daughter behind, and it was so sad and oh so tragic that his character could never get near her again due to his tragic fate. Insert sound violin here. Finally, despite being such an apparent badass, he was a level 1 adventurer. So he said his blade was broken or something and claimed that was reason enough for him to be just level 1. We talked about it. He didn't get to play in that campaign.
Yeah, like that. I was actually gonna bring up the exact same question. That I'm glad they mentioned. Like, if you're that great, how are you a level 1 war adventurer?
Yeah, that's the classic. My backstory is like so great, yet I'm only a level 1 and can be killed by like a falling rock.
See, I'm always worried about that whenever I create a backstory. Like, am I drawing too much attention, or is it does it sound cool in my head, but just sounds really annoying in like in practice or not?
Yeah, like when I do it, I kind of like I make up parts of stories, but I make it like where it could happen to just a regular Joe Schmo. Like it's not like, oh, I fought off all these things. It's like, oh, I was almost killed and I had to like run away, kind of thing. But to like
Yeah,
give you some experience, but it's like, yeah, the people that are like, no, and then I killed like 20 bandits, and it's like, no, no.
yeah. Well, and you also don't make your character like OP because it there's always things that can happen and whatnot. Like from the story, it seems like this guy's just amazing and he broke his sword and that was it.
Yep. I also like how they capitalized pure evil in their
Oh, the
story
all
here.
caps. How old? It doesn't say how old these people are, does it?
No.
I might be able to excuse like like an early angsty teenager or whatnot, but I don't know. But then again, there are people like adults that act that way also.
True, true.
I was also gonna say like when you mentioned the whole seven deadly sins thing, I'm like, I wonder if he stole it from the anime, and then you brought that up. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I I
I was
tend to
thinking,
I
sorry.
tend to do that. I'm not super creative, so I just tend to just steal bits and pieces from shows and whatnot that I watch.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's okay as long as you're not either blatantly doing it, or as long as you kind of like is not the only thing that's about you. Like, oh, I'm not gonna make a freaking carbon copy of Wrath. But
Yeah, I'm kind of imagining like the outburst and whatnot when he was denied being able to play in the game. I can see him just like throwing a temper tantrum.
yeah, yep. And I never do that for my PCs. Like take from other stuff. I do it for NPCs when I DM though. Like I know I took Saris from Helsing Abridged as one of my NPCs, which was kind of a request. And then I took Entrapta from Shira as one of them,
Okay,
just because they were like fun to stick in there.
just tangent. How weird is the unabridged Hellsing, man? Doesn't it go into like weird Nazis and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen the actual Helsing show, but Abridged was kind of, it was like, it was funny and crazy, but I liked
Well, yeah,
it.
I only watched the original, and then I heard like there was an unabridged one. I'm like, oh, does this mean like it's a longer version, more fleshed out? Cool, I'll watch that. And I saw like images. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's not unabridged, it's abridged, so it's way shorter, for
Oh,
one thing.
okay. Uh,
Yeah,
I
and
must okay.
it's
That's a
like
different
they
show.
redo it. It's like a spoof. It's kind of like watching somebody had like dubbed over it with crazy them saying crazy. Like it gives
Oh,
you
I
this
see.
the basic storyline, but like everything is crazy. It's hilarious. You should watch it
Wait,
sometime. I mean, yeah, I've never seen the show, so I thought it was hilarious. You might be like, "What the fuck is happening?"
I was well because I saw the original and it was just really good. It was it had some goofy moments and as any kind of anime does, but like it was a very solid anime. And then like I saw it just images of like I think there was like a fat Hitler and stuff like that, and I was so confused. I actually think I thought it was like a fan made show. I'm like, is this real?
I mean, it kind of is. Like it uses the actual like scenes and stuff from the show, but I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure all the like voices and dubbing is done by like the people that do this because they've done other shows. Like they're a YouTube group that does that to shows. Then they make it call it abridged. Like they do it for other shows besides Van Helsing stuff. But
Oh, okay, that makes sense then. All right, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry about that. I just had to bring up the weirdness of Helsing Bridge.
no problem. We always go off on tangents in this. This is why we're unprofessional.
That
It's
is true.
tradition.
That is true. I feel like yeah. I guess I kind of have to throw that in there then.
All right, let's see. What else have we got here? Some of these I was reading ahead and I'm like, some of them had things to do with like sexual assault and stuff. I'm just like, oh, why? And but no, I'm gonna leave that one.
I actually read one like a while ago where I think there was a story about it was like a new group and it was mainly all guys but they invited like one female a girl to play, right? And
Mhm.
then like I guess there was like one other like player who was basically harassing the girl's actual character, and I was like that was I don't know, it was just weird. I don't
Yeah.
understand, but sorry.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of those in here, which I'm going to try and skip over those because I don't like trigger warnings for the audience and stuff. I just
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that. But there's a lot. Like there's even like guy players who have had their characters like assaulted and whatnot. And there's like, and a lot of times it's the DMs, and it's like, my God, you need better DMs. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, of course. it's up to the DM to kind of just stop, say, hey, you can't do that, stop, and then just get rid of it. But
This one looks pretty safe. Player gets shot by NPC and is shocked. Let's see. Yeah. Well, the title is Player Gets Shot by NPC as in shocked. This is by user lulls and distractions. Oh, that kind of fits.
all right.
Lulls and distractions. Not as much a horror story, this one, but still player is shocked after their own actions having consequences. More comical than anything else. I was running a Savage Worlds homebrew, and one of my players didn't get along with an NPC that they were working with. The NPC didn't have much of a sense of humor, and I made it clear from the start that they were only helping the group because they had to and didn't care for them. One of the players took to constantly taunting the guy, making jokes at his expense, and in general going all out of his way to say and do things that aggravated him. As the DM, I didn't care. We were all friends, and I'm not personally invested in this NPC, and it was kind of funny. But I made sure that it was clear that the NPC disliked them more and more and more. It came to a head eventually, and the key words from my player character were, "Shoot me, I dare you." So you can imagine that my player's total shock when he did just that. Player went silent for a minute and said, "Did he really just shoot me?" Me, yes. Character, why? Me, because he hates you and you dared him to? Player, yeah, but I didn't think he would. Me, well, he did. Player, fuck. The player ended up playing it off well and smoothed things over with the NPC, though they were never friends.
That's good. At least there's kind of a happy ending, I guess. Lesson learned. That actually makes me think of the chef, with the OP chef that we have in our game.
Yeah.
I keep thinking. I think at the beginning, I thought someone was kind of like trying to know. Yes, someone keeps stealing food from him.
Oh, yeah.
So I kept thinking, like, one of these days, man.
Yep. I think it was mostly, wasn't it Devin's character that kept stealing food from him?
I think so. Yeah, muffins or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I'm okay with. I know some people have issues with like NPCs killing or attacking like players. I'm like, no, but I mean, that's if there's no risk of that happening, it kind of defeats the purpose of the game. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like people, so that just teaches you that it's okay to treat all the NPCs like dirt. It's like, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Well, not real people are not going to put up with that forever. Sorry.
exactly. It wouldn't make any sense if you could just completely poke fun at an NPC and then expect them to help you every single time.
Yeah, I mean that's people kind of like Bale comes to mind. Like if we were a dick to him constantly, he'd just be like, "Nope, I'm done." Even though half the time we're like, "Do we really want to do a Bale?"
Yeah, I think we had characters that like kind of pushed it because like obviously like I think Brenna hates demons, right? And so
Yeah.
they were never gonna get along, but they never like blatantly attack them or anything like that. For sure, I think Brenna would be smart enough to not to be like, "Go ahead, Bale, shoot me" or something.
Yeah,
It's like,
because he
okay,
would.
yeah, he would. I'm like, okay, great, you asked for it. Or worse, he'll like deal and he'll just shoot them.
I just can't believe there was a sentence that started Brenna is smart enough.
Well,
dot dot dot.
I mean, she's not an idiot. She's
Yeah,
just
no, I know. It's just funny.
still, I can never not think of Brenna and dead hookers in the same sentence.
Yeah, we never even figured out what that was
I know
about.
that bothers me so much. You have no idea. That's why I keep bringing it up because I want to know why, and how. I like how we all just assume she did it, and then we're like, all right, we're done. That was it.
Yeah, we'll have to have like a DM secrets episode and ask Webby, but we're like, Webby,
Okay, yeah.
remember?
You should have like a SU or something, like just a Q&A of just all the questions we want to ask about certain things.
Yeah. Like, we're probably never going to play that again. So, can you just tell me this and this? What was this about?
There's so many questions. I can't think of them now, but I remember like I think I wrote some of them down. I'm like, all right, this has to be a plot point at some point, and I'm like, nothing ever came from it. Actually, no, I think one did. We found the key, right? We found a key in one of the orcs camp, and I'm like, this has to be useful somehow. And then like it never came up. And then I think it wasn't that one of like the three symbols or keys that the orc leaders needed.
Yeah, because I think we ended up with two of them because didn't your mentor send you one of the keys? So then we had two.
Yeah. But I remember thinking like when I first found the key, I'm like, this has to be for something. And I'm like, and I kept like every time we had like a door, I'm like, does the key fit? Like, no. I'm like, I was like, Webby just gave me a key just to hook me. It's worth nothing, I bet. And then finally, you have no idea how happy I was when that was revealed. I'm like, finally, I figured out what it does. You said you're looking up RPG horror stories in Reddit. I'm gonna take a look at this.
Yeah, like I'm skipping some of the like one of them is titled "Crown Paladin thinks sexual assault is in line with his oath." It's like no, don't skip that
Yeah.
one.
That's the thing I always kind of find hard is finding the balance of like, let's say you make a character who believes a certain thing or whatnot, and they're just a shitty character, and it's like you can't really blame the background. You're like, oh well, I have to do this because his background would do that, and I would feel bad sometimes where I'm like, I'm not gonna help that person because I know he wouldn't do that or whatnot. What is this? Cleric who refuses to heal even himself.
Here's one: character won't stop pooping. That should be
What?
pretty entertaining. So yeah, title is "Character Won't Stop Pooping" by user NoCloud7275. This happened near the beginning of my DM career when I wasn't a confident DM and was a massive pushover. I was running a one shot with some of my IRL friends, and the premise was that they were survivors of a great battle that had to escape to friendly territory and avoid the clutches of mercenaries that were tracking them. One of my friends was playing a half orc barbarian and was one of those players that just could not take a game seriously and always had to add some silly gimmick to his characters. His gimmick for this one, he found it hilarious to describe several times during the one shot as the party was traveling along, avoiding patrols, scouting past, and escaping that his character took a shit. The rest of the party found it funny the first time, and I asked him to cut it out, but he just kept doing it, even laughing, describing his character backing one out onto a fallen enemy. Being a new DM, instead of putting my foot down, tolerated it until I grew really, really angry at him and decided to punish him with in-game consequences. Near the end of session one, I had the mercenaries catch up to the party and get ready to fight them. The barbarian was upset that they were facing capture and said something to the effect of, that's bullshit, DM. We all rolled really well on our stealth rolls. How the hell did they catch up to us? Mercenary captain, we found one you by the trail of turds you've been leaving behind, beast. At this point, my friends got very upset. He was fuming and gets up from the table to go outside for a smoke, but never ends up returning. Being one member down, the party was unfortunately captured and the one shot ended. After this session, I got a message from him saying he was really angry at me and felt it was targeting his character and spoiled his fun. We later patched things up and he agreed his character was pretty silly and that it was a funny reason for them to get caught. He plays more serious characters now and we're good.
No, I actually applaud the DM. That's a really good way of tying it in because it makes sense. Like we have when you have like magical creatures and whatnot that can have like super senses. Yeah, you can completely track them that way. So
Oh my god, I'm looking at the people of comments. There are so many puns. The guy goes, honestly, that's an amazing way to stop that shitty behavior and get them to cut the crap.
sometimes the comments are just better than the actual story. Oh, I don't like that one. I'm reading one of the titles. Let's see.
Yeah, I saw that cleric not healing one, but it seemed pretty long.
It is very long. I started reading it. And then did you see the one about the registry?
Yeah, that's
I'm not
another
even
one. I'm like,
I'm not even gonna click that, but I just saw that, I'm like, "Jesus. From scholar to stripper in 10 minutes."
yeah, that one didn't seem to have a story. It just was like the title. I don't know if it's actually on there.
Oh, wait, hold on, there's a little okay, I'm taking my players through a modified version of I don't know what LMOP is. Uh, actually, I don't know if this is funny because I have no idea what these words are. Okay. Basically, there's the word rock seeker, and I guess the first letter was rubbed off, so it turned into cock seeker. Got it.
Well,
Have you played Fate? The Fate system?
yeah,
I'm just
with
looking at
John.
it. Oh yeah, that's right. That's not the one I'm thinking. I'm thinking of GURPS. Have you played GURPS?
No.
That's such a complicated system. I think that was like one of the first games I played. I was looking for like a D&D group, so I went on some kind of forum and it linked me to a group, and I thought I was playing D&D, but it was GURPS. I'm like, someone needs to explain how this works.
Uh, Here's one. My character dies because another player's character considers them a liability. Okay.
Mm,
This is posted by user boardaf5492. All right, so I was in this D&D group that was setting out playing an insecure tiefling sorcerer who came from a society that hated tieflings and magic. Due to this, my character was played as inept with magic, usually in mundane situations. For example, he would sometimes run to the front of combat to fight rather than stay at distance. Meta-wise, it was because he was a storm sorcerer, so for that extra damage, you need to be pretty close to enemies. Anyway, there was this time where our party was being held captive by a cult that wanted to recruit us. After a while, my character joins the cult, in parentheses, to spy for the party. Eventually, the remaining party is put into combat to determine whether they'll live or die. Ensue a boss fight that was way too difficult and ended with two party members dead and three, including my own, unconscious. Enter in S on his fifth character, who proceeds to somehow revive everyone who had died except my character, who was unconscious and stable, who he stabbed through the heart and insta killed. Of course, I'm mad and walk away, followed by my friend to cool off. Eventually, we ask why the player killed my character, who, depending on when you ask, got different answers as followed. One, he was a liability because I had a bad habit of rolling nat ones, and the DM had a rule that if you rolled a nat one on attacks, you hit an ally. Two, because my character had betrayed the party and joined the cult, though they quickly backtracked when it was pointed out that their character was all buddy buddy with the cult's leader. Three, because the romance between my character and my friends was toxic. Side note: if the player has a habit of trying to white knight and save people from toxic relationships in D&D. Eventually, I made a second character. My friend and pretty much everyone except me, S, and another player had left. Who was left behind in this city because I missed a session. Me and the friend eventually joined another game and played out our character story that we were trying to do.
wait, didn't they? Did I mishear? I thought that guy pretended to join the cult.
Yeah,
Well, that does that like other guy's just an idiot. I don't know. So I
yeah.
guess that's like the answer to like almost all of these is one person is just an idiot. And the whole rolling not ones, come on, it's
Yeah, I mean, how
RNG.
is your character supposed to know this guy rolls in that ones? It's like, what? That's total metagaming.
Yeah, I can kind of understand if he was like, oh, my character would do it because he's an asshole and because he sees your character constantly attacking him. But like all the other reasons are just stupid. You don't, I don't know, you don't. I was gonna say you don't kill your a member of your own party, but I feel like you might have skirted a little close to that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. As the DM, I wouldn't have allowed it. I would have been like, no. You don't even know this person. Because apparently, like, because he said that they just came in because their other character had died, so they created a new character and then just joined. It's like, how do you even know who this guy is to just be stabbing them through the heart? Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. But well, then again, like, how would the DM say no? Would you just say no? You can't make that action, or
well, I'd make them explain to me why they would be doing it. Like, why would you do this? Like, and then
yeah,
if
okay.
all of those reasons, I'd be like, no, you don't know that. You don't know that. You just met this person.
And did they also say there was like a relationship between the action with the sorry, between the characters or between the players?
Between the characters.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't sure if it was like this person is just jealous or something.
Oh, I'm sure that's part of it, probably. But
Yeah.
yeah, the thing was only from the players, or yeah, the characters rather had the relationship, not the players.
The second page has the thing I'm always afraid of is the group tries a moral choice type campaign is what my character would do ensures or
Oh boy,
ensues. Yeah.
do you want to read that one?
Sure. More of a oh wait, lighthearted horror story. Let's see. I also want to point out that I'm just as guilty as any of the others. This happened about a year ago. We had a group of 7 to 8 people, with the group only being a couple years old. Uh, old camp old campaign wrapped up. GM wanted to create a darker one with moralistic choices. Everyone was on board, so we went for it. The problem is we all decided we were gonna make edgy characters, oh boy, to go with the darker setting. So we all made people who were kind of assholes, the I'll do things my way type people. Yeah, let's see. So we had too many little interactions to list, but pretty much at every turn the party was infighting. Like BBG made a what's BBG? Uh,
It's big bad. It's usually BBEG, big bad evil guy.
okay, BBG made a threat on one character's family and wanted to turn around to check on them, but I don't know if I'm reading it wrong or they're just missing words. But their siblings insisted to stay on mission. There was another where some characters didn't like other ones speaking via telepathy, felt too much like an invasion of privacy. Little things, but it was happening every session. There would be a new argument, more infighting. Period. What? Okay. It got so bad. GM made a therapy session for the characters. Like that part. So they could lay ground rules to each other, and a couple of sessions after, it went right back to the usual. And we were honestly playing to our characters, not just using that as an excuse to be toxic. We just made semi-toxic characters who all thought they were hot shit. The players were getting upset as well. The sessions were just plain stressful. Everyone in the group felt that way. We were just hanging in there because maybe next time it won't be so bad and we will have fun. This sounds like an abusive relationship. The session that broke the camel's back was an entire session where one third of the group were unconscious, one third were trying to kill a group of polar bears, and one third of the group was trying to save said polar bears and running away with them. That was 70% of the session. Every player was either stressed or bored. That actually sounds kind of familiar to our little Civil War thing. So yeah, we collectively came together and just axed the campaign. None of us were having fun. All of us were stressed, and we were just done. Not gonna lie, this kind of killed a lot of my desire to do tabletop. We started a new one right after. I dropped after one session, but that one went great. Everyone was happy with it. Also, the GM's other campaign that included me and a couple of players from the first one is still great. We just decided no more moral choices, no gray areas. We're good guys. Give us bad guys to kill. All right, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta love inter-party conflicts.
Top rated comments. So you all decided to have a bunch of assholes as characters and proceeded to act like a bunch of assholes. Yeah, pretty much.
I remember our inter-party
Yeah, well,
conflict ended with
I
somebody.
kind of, I feel bad. I feel like I kind of started that because I think Asana was the first person who was like, they aren't doing anything to me. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna kill them. I was like, oh crap. I did
Yeah.
not think that was gonna happen. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, also, like, half of us could have just stayed out of it altogether, but then they were like, "Nah, we're gonna." Because I know that me and Brenna were on one side, and I think most everyone else was on the other. but then Chris was like, "I'm going to attack Brenna." I was like,
Okay,
"Why
yeah,
would you do this?"
that was a line. I think I wouldn't attack a person. I was just like, I also feel like after even if like what I thought was gonna happen was that like let's say half and half. One decided to attack the demon, one didn't. I thought what was gonna happen was the people that wanted to attack the demon would attack the demon, and then like the other half would see their allies being attacked and be like, all right, fine, I'll have to help. That's what I was planning on doing with Osanis, but
Mm.
that did not happen. I'm like, well, this went way further than I thought it was gonna go.
Yep.
It's okay. The skull came in handy.
Yeah. It did. Oh, geez, I forgot him. Yeah, I forgot you took his skull.
You never. It's a tiefling skull. You never know. And I was right. I saved the world because of that. All right.
You did, but still. Did Talon ever know that you took Kyra's skull? I don't remember.
I don't think anyone knew because I'm pretty sure like when they listed out like the ingredients, I'm like, hold up, I'll catch up with you guys. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
this too. And then they're like, yeah, that'll work. Let's see. All these say like I'm seeing a lot of extra long tags on these stories.
Yeah. I have one. Let's see. This one says sheep or why random encounter tables suck. Go with that one. Posted by Asterion del Toro. Sheep or why random encounter tables suck. Campaign starts with a party of level ones making a 3-week journey to get to the big city and start their adventuring career. The DM insists on rolling a random encounter table for each day of the trip, probably expecting some emergent roleplay scenarios to help the party get invested in each other. What they get instead is DM day 4 roll, nothing happens. Players, we move on. DM day 5 roll, nothing happens. Players, we move on. DM day 6 roll. Oh, you see a cow on the side of the road. What do you do? Player 1, what can we do with a cow? Player 2, tip it. Player 3, milk it. Player 4, kill it for meat. Player 1, nah, it probably belongs to someone. Let's just move on. DM, okay. Day 7, roll, nothing happens. And so on. Not a single bandit attack, or traveling merchant, or wounded traveler, or anything. Nothing interesting at all. Deathly dull. Finally, we get this. DM, day 16, roll. You see a flock of sheep grazing along the side of the road. Player 3, perking up. Sheep? DM, sheep. Player 3, sheep? DM, yes, sheep. Player 3, how many? DM, about rolls 23 or so. Player 3, I run into the midst of the flock screaming, sheep! DM, okay, you panic the flock and it stampedes, trampling you for 22 HP worth of bludgeoning damage. Player 3, my max HP is 6. DM ruled that he survived with 1 HP thanks to receiving immediate first aid from the party, but the player was very quiet for the rest of the journey. No clue that what that guy was thinking. Maybe he snapped from the boredom. Maybe he decided to make his own adventure. Or maybe he just really needed to shove his face in a four-legged cloud.
Well, okay. To be fair, I wouldn't have thought that the stampede would happen and kill them. But also, how does he only have max 6 HP?
I mean, level 1 wizard could have 6
Oh,
HP
okay, all right,
if they
yeah.
had a 0 con.
Well, a level 1 wizard would be smart enough to not to run through a flock of sheep.
You'd think so. But yeah, like I will admit I use a random encounter table for travel.
Okay.
None of the ones I use have nothing happens. Every roll has something happen. Usually, I end up adjusting whatever it is to fit what we're doing. Like, like I don't take it like word for word because normally it's like, okay, well that wouldn't happen, but I can make this, which is close enough, kind of thing. But it's like, why would you have a thing where nothing happens every day? It's just like, okay, like sometimes, yeah, I'll roll and I'll be like, or it's just like something random where like they'll pass by a sign or something or whatever. But it's like it's if you keep rolling nothing, it's like that's a bad table. Like
Yeah, or
16
yeah,
days of nothing.
right. Or you leave that to DM's discretion, where you're like, yeah, you know what, this something has to happen. I'm gonna make a decision now and make something happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you said, if 16 times nothing happened, something's happening.
yeah.
Oh, here's one. Poetry is more important. I'm DM. Between sessions, we post to a private forum where individuals can take game actions to do things the whole group isn't involved in. Shop, enchant items, talk to companions, etc. One player liked to write up long monologues of his PC's inner dialogue. So, geez. Players prevail against BBEG in a session, forcing him to run away. Monologue player writes up a 4,000 word post, a vignette about how his paladin uses what he calls a genie wish lamp, a treasure item given to him by an Ifrit for the betterment and glory of his deity. DM, me, informs them that events can happen the way he wrote it in the post. I write, please clarify, in his paladin invoking the genie wish, or is his paladin invoking the genie wish lamp? Player writes another 2,000 words on how his paladin's faith overcomes adversity and how I'm not listening to him. Player says I'm a poor DM if I can't allow the actions in his 4,000 word essay because his actions are artfully presented. Poetry. Me, I writes that speaking of adversity, the BBEG had cursed the paladin, causing XYZ effect to start appearing. By the way, the wish is not or still not happening the way the player wrote it. Please clarify: is this paladin invoking the genie wish lamp? Player writes another 3,000 words on how his paladin's faith overcomes adversity. The BBEG curse cannot occur because of his paladin's faith. The DM is not listening to him. Player says his poetry is a yes and the wish was invoked, and I'm a poor DM too busy rolling dice if I can't see the yes buried in his essay. Says my DM agenda ignores player character's actions. Says he knows his character better than anyone, and even the DM can't say his character doesn't get the wish fulfilled. I write back that his base assumption is incorrect. The genie wish lamp is really an evil Efrit bottle, and there's no genie wish, no Efrit wish. I let him know when his paladin opens the item, the Efrit or Ifrit harms his paladin, and some major interests of the paladin will suffer. Player writes back says it's another player's fault, not another PC's fault. That wait, what? Oh, another player, not the character. Okay, got it. That paladin thought the evil Everett bottle was a genie wish lamp. Player says no one can trust the other player's character ever again. Kicked his ass out of my game. Was patient with the posturalizing, patient with criticism of me, patient with the metagaming egotism, but blame another player for your own poor thinking. Don't fucking go there.
God.
That's a lot of writing. 4,000 words and 2,000 and 3,000.
So I have a game that I play in where, well, it's kind of over now, but I did play in it where the DM let us do like play by post in between sessions that like to mostly do RP stuff.
Hmm.
So like you could talk to each other or do like small actions and stuff in between the actual sessions to save time and like move the story along. So I mean it's actually really helpful. But anytime like we got too out of hand, she'd be like, "Oh no, you can't do this. Let's revise it." And then she would like step in and change stuff if she had to. But for the most part, like it was just like conversational stuff, so she didn't have to do that. But it's like, yeah, well, if she steps in and says that this doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's like you can't just be like, no, my faith overcomes what you say as the DM.
Yeah,
No, that doesn't work. Sorry.
yeah, and yeah, I don't know. It especially for a wish, like you can't just say I have a wish and then make a wish. And like it's is I know like Dungeons and Dragons like it's a co-op game. Everyone it's like it requires everyone, but technically the DM is making the rules. It's their world that you're playing in. So like if the DM says no, that's not gonna fly, then no, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Also, like for the play by posting, if there was something we knew that she'd have to step in on, we would stop there and wait for her to say something. Like if we were going to try and use that bottle, we would be like, "Oh, we opened the bottle," and then just stop there and see what she said happened. Or like, or I rub the lamp and wait and see what happens. Like you don't just say, "Okay, the genie comes out," and it's like, "Here's what do you wish for?" Blah blah blah. It's like, okay, the genie is technically an NPC if there is one, so we have to wait for her to say what the genie says. It's like you just stop and you wait. It's like you don't just decide what happens.
Right. Like the players can only say what the player does. They can't say
Yeah.
what the world, does based on the player's actions. That's the DM's job. Let's see.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm just DMing just sounds so stressful. Like one part of me would like just try to make everyone happy and just to give everyone what they want and whatnot. And then the other part of me was like, no, you're an asshole. I'm not gonna do that.
Uh, okay, let's see. A story of two gods versus some newbies. This sounds interesting. Okay, this is by user TinkTank96. After reading all the wonderfully horrible stories everyone has shared here, I figured I would toss mine into the ring. I played an online game with a couple of people just as COVID started. A great bunch of dudes that unfortunately fell apart due to falling out between two people that kind of split the group up, but I digress. The DM liked to do grimdark settings with more brutal combat, critical hit tables, etc., which wasn't an issue for us. We all agreed to it, and for the most part, it wasn't an issue. His storytelling and world building was great. The problem he had was his combat balancing. The game was a warlock, me, a paladin, a monk, a bard, all starting at level 1. We were marked by death and being hunted by a cult, essentially. This tale of tragedy is a 3-part act with a TPK or close to one in each part. Oh boy. Part 1. Our group is in a dungeon being guided by an elf wizard towards an item to help us kill the leader of the cult. Alexa was her name. Oh, sorry, Alexa. The twist is that he was actually working for the cult and attacked us. Not a big deal, however, we are all level 1, and this wizard was like level 10 Necromancer PC. The DM played in another game, so his skeletons wiped us pretty fast. With a TPK, the DM decides to do a story hook to prevent this leading to part 2. Part 2, we get captured by the cult and escape. One of our ways to the village was that another item we needed. Alexa attacks us, and we have to run because she's really strong. We kind of do a roll to do stuff kind of chase where you need X successes before Y fails. A skill check challenge is what we call that. And the DM fails to tell us that is a monstrosity of an enemy is a level 18 paladin, wizard, sorcerer hybrid. I don't mean multi-class, I mean access to all level 18 options. He made
Wow.
a borderline god to fight level 1 characters.
Jeez.
This leads to my warlock dying outright after failing his saving throw because her damage was that high versus my HP. The bard died earlier from a knight hiking him with a lance. The paladin and monk barely limp to the village. Part 3, the final act before the death of our group and the game. I re-rolled a ranger and the bard makes a fighter. We're all bumped to level 3. To cut the story short, we get all but one item to kill the leader. However, she attacks us. Hit this time summons an actual Lovecraftian god, her god, to help fight us. So now our party of level 3 is running through the woods trying to escape this demigod and her angel of death master. We all die when she casts Firestorm in the forest, lighting it on fire and killing all of us. To which he replies, I didn't think that would kill you. He was a fun dude to play with outside of combat, but man, he really did grind us all into dust.
Wow. I would just be. How sad would you be if you just kept constantly just dying? Like, why would you go in for a part 2?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be like 3 level 18 classes in one character against level 1s. Yeah, that like freaking rats can kill you.
Right, yeah, I just like, I don't know, like, I you would think, like, after the first party kill, the DM will be like, "Alright, this is a little too much. Let me tone this down a little bit."
Yeah, it's like, oh, I killed all of them with a level 10 necromancer, so I'm gonna bump it up to a three
Level
level
18.
18 and
Yeah,
then a Lovecraftian god after that. It's like,
and
okay, you're supposed to be toning it backwards, not dialing it up.
right, you get, and it was a combination of a paladin, a wizard, and a sorcerer, so, like, they're tanky from a paladin, they can probably heal themselves, and they got, like, massive firepower. It's like, what are you supposed to do to that?
Jeez.
Unless
Yeah.
he expects them to, like, always run away, but that's just not funny either.
Yeah. Nope, no.
I'm gonna read this one before I read it out loud because this could be bad. It just says player in love with their character.
Oh boy.
I don't so far. Okay, it's kind of tame. So pretty much the title. The player in question was in love with his own character. I'm not talking about loving to play as said character or platonic love either. At least once or twice a day, our Discord server would see pictures of his Star Wars character and extensive monologues about how he loved said characters' varying physical attributes, sometimes raving about their oh so beautiful skin, their stunning eyes, and so on. Now, that alone would have been bad enough. Adding to this was that said character had nothing to do with our, what? Had nothing to do with our game. Uh, we didn't play anything Star Wars related, and and none of us was even remotely related to the game his character belonged to. At several instances, it got bad enough for our Discord moderator to step in, taking away his ability to post pictures eventually. This abuse of power from our moderator, who was obviously mad with power, led him to a rant for a while and when they didn't budge, they left the server quote until we regained our sanity end quote. For some weird reason, we remained insane and never came crawling to beg him to return. That has been more than a year ago. The game is still going strong, and we didn't hear anything of that person ever since. Very tame compared to some of the stories here. Yeah, that it was. That's not what I thought, but it threw me off when he said the character has nothing to do with their game. Like,
Yeah, like
why?
why?
It's like randomly joining a chat room. Like, hey guys, here's my character. Huh. Well, at least it stayed somewhat PG. Nope, nope. Here, let's see. What's the worst character someone in your table ever played or attempted to play? Let's see. Nope, never mind. Not gonna read this one. Yeah, not gonna read that one.
Oh god, that one's. I opened one and I didn't realize it said extra long. It's just a wall of text.
Yeah. There's a lot of abuse in these posts.
What? I just passed one that said DM threatens to unalive herself because no one wants to send nudes to her.
Yeah, I saw that
Nah.
one.
Why?
This post was just misleading. It just I was really excited for game night. If you click on it, it just says, and then the game master pulled out D&D 5e. Boo. What's wrong with 5e? Oh, I like 5e.
Oh, Jesus. Like some of these titles I'm passing, it's just like, why? Why?
Yeah, yeah. It just reinforces like the stereotype that like D&D nerds have no social skills.
Yeah. One. Another sexual assault
There's
story.
a
God,
lot of sexual assault stories. My God.
how like the game where nothing happened. That one sounds kind of safe. Let's go with that. Let's see. Okay, the game where nothing happened by Seraface99. The story happened a couple weeks ago, and I'm kind of boggled by it. I joined a D&D game on Roll20 that advertised as RP heavy. The DM described himself as an experienced DM and a role player with a history in theater. We start off in a tavern, the patrons and environment of which the DM describes in great detail. As new members of the Adventurers Guild, we were supposed to wait for a meeting with a client, so we all start RPing with each other and getting to know the party's characters. After about an hour of this, our patron still hasn't arrived, so we start talking with the various NPCs. 3 hours later, we've talked with everyone in the tavern, and the story still hasn't moved along. We are all getting more muted and bored as, while we were liking the role playing, and this was an RP heavy campaign, we were eager for the story to progress and at least roll at least one a dice at some point during the game. The DM, likely sensing our boredom, decides to call the session. Everyone hops off the call except me, and I talk to him. Me, hey, the role play was really fun in that session, but did we miss something? Or someone to talk to? Kind of felt like we didn't really move the story forward much. DM, oh yeah, you guys talk to everyone, and don't worry, the patron will arrive. I just want to give you guys a couple more sessions to really get into the scene
Jeez.
before he arrives. I later messaged the DM and told him that this game wasn't for me. I'm
Oh
all
my
for
God.
RP heavy games, but this guy wanted a straight up improv group. It's like you've talked to everyone in the tavern, but we'll have a few more sessions before the guy gets there. Jesus. Like, what?
I would have like, what would he have done if they were like, okay, obviously nothing's happening here. We're gonna leave the tavern. Then would he just be like, no, you can't leave? Or now he's like, all right, talk to everyone in the village now until the guy comes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, geez. It's like, are they going to get through all of their like backstories? It's like usually you like to save that for further in the adventure. It's like, no, I'm going to tell you all my dark secrets right here and now at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's not a Dungeons and Dragons game. That's just you hanging out with your friends talking. I don't know. Ugh. That's like the thing. Like you hear jokes about where like you just the characters just don't fight. Open up a bar and just hang out and talk to people.
Mm.
What is this one? I have a headache. Session starting an hour late, playing at someone else's house, a 3-year-old that wouldn't shut up or stop throwing his plastic toys around, a 4-year-old from a couple that came to play that couldn't stop calling her mommy and crying, 7 people in a tiny living room, no air condition, and and barely a breeze. The TV at full volume with Paw Patrol in a futile effort for the kids to focus their attention there. 4 of the players constantly standing up every hour to smoke a cigarette in the balcony with the balcony door closed, but quote, "Don't worry, we can still hear you."
Oh,
These
God.
these same people that then would be confused as to what was going on in game because they half overheard a 45-minute argument with one of the smokers and owner of the house about if a machine machine what machine gunner 42 can be shot standing up. Players not paying attention during combat. Realizing the 3-year-old is chewing the tin foil his sandwich was wrapped in, I panic I panic but because or a bit because I'm afraid he might have swallowed the tinfoil. Dad just looks in defeat. Don't worry, he'll poop it out. The house dog is bothering the kids for their food. I have to step in again to avoid the dog biting the sandwich of the 4-year-old. So how was your session?
Jesus.
Uh, I don't know what a machine were is.
I don't know either. Maybe it's
But
a
yeah,
type of gun. I don't know.
I guess, but I do kind of. I am always kind of. I played in a game where like, it was a college game. We met like at like the school building or whatever. It was the Dungeons and Dragons club. It was kind of like my one of my second or third first like D&D experiences, and like you would be playing, and then you just see a lot of people just on their phones when it's not their turn to talk, and then like something happens. They're like what? I got like
Yeah, and the whole, oh no, we can hear you. It's like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, you can hear that. I just wouldn't repeat myself. I'm like, nope, you gotta make your decision. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, you said you could hear me.
I want to read this one, but it's too long. But I might read this on my own.
Yeah, a
It's
lot of
just
them
that.
like that seem interesting are really long, but then there's some I come to that says that time my DM added being a sex doll to my backstory. It's like, no, why?
Well,
Why did you even play that
that's the
game?
DM who did it. I would have just said, "No, I'm good. Let's just not do that." And then he was like, "No, we have to." I'm like, "No, I'm good. Then I'm leaving."
Yeah, bye.
What is this? Two 2 second or 2 sentence RPG horror story. Hey, is Saturday good? Probably. Yeah, a lot of these are long or extra long. D&D Neckbeard argues historic accuracy with a 10-year-old reenactment veteran and loses. Yeah, too long. Can't read that, but that's just funny.
All right. We're getting towards that hour mark, so I'm gonna do one more, and then you can do one more.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with my DM lets the tank use strength for intimidation, posted by SpiderJack11. Let me preface this by saying that I do, in fact, understand that its rules is written to allow for strength intimidation checks. For a campaign, I thought it'd be fun to play a charisma-based rogue, taking inspiration from Han Solo and Jack Sparrow. So I rolled up a swashbuckler with great dexterity and charisma. Things were going great. And then session one rolls around. One of our players, a Warforged fighter, makes charisma his dump stat, perfectly normal. We already had multiple capable party faces between my swashbuckler and the warlock. Where the trouble started was when this player asked the DM if he could instead use strength for his intimidation stat. DM allowed it. Fine, it could be useful and it makes sense in certain scenarios. Things quickly fell apart. With his newfound +6 at level 3 to intimidation, that quickly became his default action when interacting with any NPC. To make matters worse, this player was easily the loudest at the table, easily drowning out the more soft-spoken players, which includes both charisma builds. This meant that, not for lack of opposition, he became the de facto party face. Further, when the DM had the party begin to explore player backstories, mine came first. Naturally, the intimidation rolling bot did his thing and quickly turned every potential helpful character against the party. From my character's contact to her gang's leader, he was nothing but antagonistic. Ultimately, this combined with the generic rogue jokes the party kept making. I rarely ever rolled for stealth, but they kept insisting that I was a generic rogue who does nothing but hide and steal. Made me retire that character. I'm still part of the campaign, but I don't really enjoy it anymore. The DM's a great storyteller. I'm just an observer at the table. I'm actually playing a generic rogue now, like they so obviously wanted anyway. Edit, I'll talk to the DM when he gets back from vacation. I did make a comment on my reasoning when I retired my character, but he doesn't know that I'm still struggling with the other members of the party. You guys are right. I can't let myself be a doormat, anxiety, or otherwise. I'll have to find the courage to speak up somehow. So, yeah.
It's just sad when a player just doesn't have fun. I don't know. Like especially when
Yeah.
when you can kind of tell. It's just I don't know. Like the whole game it's supposed to be a game. Everyone's supposed to be having fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of people repeat throughout this Reddit is no D&D is better than bad D&D.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's like it's hard enough trying to get people to play, and like these like instances of just I don't know, these sad stories just makes it worse.
Yeah. I
Here's
mean, this one's hard to
go ahead.
like as a DM, I'm not even sure how I would handle this because like if this person just keeps like talking over other people to NPCs, it's not like I can be like, okay, he doesn't say that. Like it's like, okay, yeah, he does say that. It's like I might have people start like if they are intimidated, like start attacking him. Maybe like why? Like if you're constantly being a douchebag to everybody and trying to
Yeah,
intimidate them, like I'm not sure how I would handle it. Because it's
I guess you
difficult
could.
to be like, oh no, because if someone else starts talking, he just talks over them. It's like, well, if that's happening in in character, I mean, you can talk over other people in character to be a jerk. It's like, hmm, well,
The, well, I guess one thing you could do is just have an NPC that's just blatantly like just way stronger than that character. It's like, no, you're not going to intimidate him. It's like
yeah,
someone trying to intimidate a dragon or something. It's not going to work.
yeah. But like, I can see that the DM is trying to make consequences because she's saying all the NPCs are like turning hostile and are not
Oh
helpful.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
that's consequences for everybody, not necessarily like he might not even care the player that's doing it. He's just like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. And so it's like, you'd
I
have to
think
try
that's.
and figure out what would bother him more than anyone else.
Or I mean, you could just take the guy aside and be like, hey, you're kind of ruining this for everyone else. Like
Yeah,
it's fine to intimidate what. Well, then again, like the argument would probably be like, "Oh, I'm just playing to my character. It's what my character would do." But it's like, yeah,
yeah,
you have to
but
balance that though.
you could be like, yeah, no, it's still not like it's like everyone's here to have fun. But again, that's like the DM may not see that it's bothering other people. Like she said, she didn't speak up and
Oh yeah,
tell. So or he, I don't think it says whether it's a girl or a guy, but they did not speak up about how it made them feel. So it's kind of like maybe he doesn't know. I guess giving
that's
him the
true.
benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, actually, the part where he says that everyone thinks he's the generic rogue, I was sticking it to your character. I was like, how we all just think you're a rogue.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I'm not a rogue. I'm a bard.
I don't know why I keep thinking you were a rogue. I think it's
It's
because like
because
the
I had the
you had
thieves tools and was
yeah
unlocking the
you had
doors.
you had what I think you tried to unlock it one time, so I'm like, all right, I guess he's a rogue then. Here will be my last one then. GM insisted on wearing a mask for the whole game. No, not a COVID mask. This story predates COVID by about 15 years. I was in university and an acquaintance invited me to join a game his friends run. They book a study room in the library. We show up and most of the group is already there. One guy is wearing a mask, not like a character or a monster or anything, just white. Think like a Phantom of the Opera mask, except covering his whole face, just a plain neutral mask. I assume he's
Mhm.
being silly for the game. I don't really take special notice of it. My friend introduces me around. When he gets to Masky, he says, and this is the GM. When I tried to get a proper introduction, the GM insists that he be known only as GM or Game Master. He explains that in order to enhance immersion, he will wear his mask and go only by his title or the name of whatever NPC he is currently portraying. This will allow us to more easily connect with his game. He insists that this is a method that the best game masters use, and I am extra lucky since I have no knowledge of his true face or identity to distract me. Jesus. Everyone else is acting like this is completely reasonable. Oh, okay, that's not what I thought was gonna happen. So I just shrug it off and restart the game. Honestly, that's pretty much the story. The game itself was pretty normal. Just the GM was wearing a mask, and people would say things like, "Can I roll to intimidate the gnome game master?" He oh, Jesus. He kept it on the entire time and drank water through a straw. He would slide it
Jesus.
under his mask. In case you were wondering, the mask was incredibly distracting and did not help me lose myself in the game. I never went back and never saw the GM's real face that I know of.
Jesus. Like, I mean, I feel like that's too far,
Yeah.
but other things like, I mean, when we play on Roll20, like, I mean, I've seen all of your faces now because we've been friends for a while and we all have
Right,
webcams
yeah.
and blah blah. But like, I have a game on that I play on Friday mornings. I have no idea what the GM looks like or any of the other players actually. I only know what their character icons look like. So I mean, I guess I get it, but it just seems like that's a little too far.
Right, but you're also playing. Well, are you playing online or face to face?
Not online
Right,
on
yeah,
Roll
okay,
20 and
so, like
stuff. So
right,
yeah.
so, I mean, that's just, like, some people just don't have webcams, some people just don't wanna deal with it, but, like, you would know I don't think any of us would ever, like, if we ever met up and played, like, "Oh, let me put on my mask, can't show you what I look like."
I
This
can't
is
let Anthony know what I look like.
no! And then going as far as to sip through a straw to the side, like, "Dude, just take it off, man."
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, the most I've seen is the the board that you cover the rolls or whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
that's
the DM screen.
yeah. I mean, I initially thought that was for like immersion or whatever, but no, that's just because it has the rules and it has the ability to hide your rolls. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
But yeah, when I first like saw a DM game or Dungeons and Dragons game, I'm like, what was that shield for? Are they trying to like hide their face or something?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just weird. Oh, hold up. The comment. All I can picture is Scooby and the gang surrounding him, and Fred's like, now we see who the spooky game master really is.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that
Well,
was fun.
that was RPG horror stories from Reddit. If you guys liked it, we might do it again at some point. Thank you for joining me, Anthony. No one else could
No,
be here. It's very nice of you.
it was very fun. I'm very happy to be here. It was very fun. I miss talking to all of you guys. Our games are too infrequent.
True. Like it's almost once a month, but not even quite that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, yeah. So Science Corner. Oh, actually, first I wanted to say happy 4th of July to those that are celebrating because this is going to come out on the 1st, but we won't have another episode till after the 4th. So happy 4th to all those who celebrate, and to those who don't, happy Monday. So yeah.
Happy.
I also know apparently today is Canada Day, so happy
Really?
Canada Day to the Canadians. Yeah, John told me
Canada
I
has
did. I had no idea.
Canada has a day? That's cool.
Yeah, it's basically like the 4th of July, except it's the 1st of July. It's
Okay,
when
that makes sense.
Canada was formed, so it's called Canada Day, and it's July
Uh,
1st.
that makes sense. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but yeah.
So happy Canada Day to those that celebrate that, and for those of you that don't, happy Friday. Uh, so Science Corner, I read an article about bone loss, which is one of the biggest obstacles that's going to be for trying to get people to Mars. Because 6 months in space leads to almost 10 years of bone decay, or 20 years rather. So your bones, they're not because they're weightless, degrade because they're not having to work as much. So they start to soften, and it basically ages them by 20 years to be in a weightless environment for 6 months. So they are now purposely trying to keep astronauts up there for longer to see if there's hopefully a plateau where they stop losing bone. But if not, they're going to try and find ways to augment your bones in order to make longer trips like those to Mars if we ever have a Mars colony.
Hmm.
Yeah, your bones do start to reform, but it takes over a year on Earth just to get 50% of the loss back. So
Oh.
yeah.
The only I think I saw an article. It could have been a crappy article. It just said humans won't have the same rights that they do on Mars that they do on Earth. And I was like, why?
Well, I mean, different countries have different rights, so
That's true. Yeah,
I
but
I mean, you could say that. Like, there's lots of things where people say stuff, and it's like it's technically true if you think about it, but it's not like I mean,
I
if it was an American colony, I'm sure they'd have the same rights as Americans. But yeah.
that's true. Yeah. Are you gonna say the thing?
Uh, well, do you have life advice, Anthony?
Life advice? If your job offers you a 401k or matches, always take it regardless of how little the amount is.
Hmm.
I say that and I only think of that because I've been telling my brother this and he kept saying, "Nah, it's too much of a hassle to set it up." And he sees one YouTuber tell him that it's a good idea, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I gotta do this now."
Yeah, do it. I ended up with like $120,000
It's free
from mine.
money. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's free money. It might be small, but it adds up and it's free money. Just do it.
Yeah, mine was after 20 years. Okay, I didn't get it overnight.
Yeah, exactly. It adds up.
But
It's just
yeah,
that's it. Regardless, it's still free money.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it's just me being cheap, but it's still free money. I don't know. I was
yeah.
just more annoyed that like he was like, "No, I'm not gonna do it," and then one YouTuber says do it, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me set this up?"
Right. Yeah, good advice, practical advice from Anthony. All right. So that's it for today, everybody. We hope that you have enjoyed our episode. And Anthony, where can people find you online?
I don't have anything online, so nowhere.
Okay. You can sort of find him at Glimweaver 90.
Oh, I still have that. Yes. Yeah,
Because
that was
I have
my
I have put it in other episodes you've been on. I put it
that
in the
was
like
my
little notes.
that was my Asana's character. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should probably do something with that, but
Yeah.
he's
John
gone
John
now.
and I have tagged you a couple times with the Rocket Care
I
brain.
think yeah, I think I did. I think I saw that a few times. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll have to. I think the reason is 'cause I initially wanted it to be like his Twitter kind of thing. I was going way too hard on this. But like yeah, that never happened. So I was like, okay, forget it.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Uh, and you can find me on Twitter at confessor_x and on Twitch at twitch.tv/confessorx. And tomorrow, which is Saturday, you will be able to find me on the Distractions Media Twitch, which I believe is twitch.tv/distractionsmedia, as we do our summer subathon. We are raising money for other Distractions members to get better equipment for our other live streams. So we are doing at least 3 hours, and then based on how many bits or subs we get, we will continue to extend the time. There's a timer set up for every donation and whatnot, bits and donations and subs to give to extend the timer up to 24 hours. So if anyone wants to come see that tomorrow, starting at 12 noon. On Saturday, the 2nd. All right, and as always, fuck Booster Gold.
I don't know why he's
I ain't the kind of wear a tie.
It's traditional.
I heard they wanted to get Zac Efron to play him, and I can see that.
Yeah.
The arrogance and the, I guess, annoying behavior. It's something
I'm simply
We're gonna end the show. Fuck Zac Efron. Which I was perfect.